Well, ladies and gentlemen, so today we're going to be doing our Mars transit video, as in what happens when Mars transits over other planets. But before I do that, I want to take you to my friend's house. He's a very good friend of mine. Usually he's always busy. He doesn't let me, hang out with him because either he's busy or I don't let him hang out with me because I'm busy. So today I'm like, before I, do this video, why don't I take you guys to my friend's house? Now, he's a bit shy sometimes. Sometimes he's very flamboyant. And he is misunderstood by many people. So, but it's interesting though, you guys gotta meet him. Because you know why? Ever since I moved to my new place, he and I had quite a few meetings, although I couldn't really see him in person. I just knew he was at his house because every time I go and get some food, he is always, in his house working. So I'm like, listen, man, my audience wants to hang out with you. My audience wants to see you. So he's like, okay, just bring them over. And if I have time, I will see them. So do you guys want to see my best friend? Well, here's the thing, you might not be able to see him. However, you might be able to see his house. Let me show you his house, okay? Here you go. There's his house. That's his house. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. You want to see his house up close? Let me show you his house up close. Because I know many of you wanted to see his house up close. So here we are in front of my main man Barack Obama's house, the White House, and his house is literally like 5 miles away from where I live. So yes, as many of you didn't realize, I live in DC. It is one of the greatest experiences of my life, and I usually come by walking here on my bike. I'm not walking here on my bike, but I walk here like 6-7 miles, or I take a bike ride here, take a coffee. So it's pretty chill. It's pretty cool. As you can see, all the security guards here, they're probably going to jump me and kick my ass, but yeah. So here, let me give you a close-up tour right there. So yeah, so today let's do our Mars transit video. Well, ladies and gentlemen, so welcome to our Mars transit video. Hope you enjoyed my friend's house. It's a pretty cool house. It's not that big or anything. It's not special, but it's interesting looking house. So anyway, Mars over planets in astrology. It's very important to understand transits of planets when they go over other planets, because that's what really triggers, certain things in our chart. And as always, if you do not know what ascendant you are, what moon sign you are, so you can look at planets from the moon, so you can see what transits are happening from the ascendant and the moon, all your other planetary placements, other details, including my books, Astrology, Conjunction, and Aspects of the Speed of Light, my reports and consultations. For that, check out the links here. So this way you can study the transits after seeing your chart. So, Mars, as you know, is a natural malefic planet. Its dignity is malefic because why is Mars malefic? Mars, I thought it's a soldier, right? He's a fighter. He's a policeman. He's the person who listens to the king and follows the orders of the king. But just because you're following the order doesn't mean you're taking the right order. It doesn't mean that you are, doing the righteous thing. Mars simply is that, look, I'm your soldier. Whatever you command me to do, I will do. And Mars' whole concept is to conquer things. I want to conquer this. I want to win this. So this is why Mars represents aggression. Kind of like if somebody has, Mercury-Mars conjunction in their horoscope, you'll see they want to over-dominate that conversation. They cannot take the fact that they were wrong. They have to counter-argue and argue and argue and go deeper into the hole, not knowing that they are wrong. Mars also represents fire. Mars is a fire planet because that's why they call him God of War, because it's a heated planet. This is why they call it the red planet, because it looks like fireball. And this is why Mars represents fire, and anything which is like burned represents cuts and wounds. This is because that's what a fighter, soldier, policeman gets. They can get shot, blood comes out. They can get stabbed, blood comes out. Mars represents a surgeon because of those things as well, because Mars loves to cut things. Either it can cut you to kill you or cut you to save you. Mars also is your male brother. I know one of you loved listening to this, wants me to copyright this term male brother, and I'm already working on it. It's already trademarked, girl. Come on now. It's already done. That's my trademark, male brothers. So let's start out by Mars going over Sun. It's a simple math. It's nothing like, there's nothing secret about it. Mars is a hot planet, Sun is a hot planet. Two hot planets are here now, and one of them is going over the other one. Take fire and then just put fire over it. What is it going to get? You're going to get more fire. But what does Sun represents in our life? Sun is our soul, because it gives us life. So without soul, I'll be just on the floor right now. Done. Gone. Dead. KRS is done. This is why Sun is a giver of life and taker of life. Because Sun can give you life or it can burn you away. And this is why Sun represents our ego, because our ego is this one thing that burns people around us away. Because if you have too much ego, people are not going to like you. They're going to wish bad for you. And then next thing you know, you're alone in life. This is why the more humble you are, the better you feel in life. And that is the purpose of your soul, is to be more humble. So when Mars is going over your Sun, shows that one's personality and ego suddenly get a boost. Because it's this gas, Mars. You just put a gas on your ego and it just kind of blows up. It's like, whoa, yeah, I am somebody important. Take a note of me. You feel proud about who you are and your lineage. Your personality suddenly, and remember the 3-degree part of the planet. Whenever Mars transits or any planet transits 3 degree before and 3 degree after, that's the Goldilocks zone. That's where things will happen. And in those weeks when Mars is transiting over the Sun, that's when you will suddenly feel like, yeah, I'm here to now take action. I'm going to do something. This is why good and bad things can be happening here. Somebody can feel like, yeah, I'm going to do something. I'm going to kill that person. Or in a good way, I'm going to do something. I'm going to take charge of my life. And I'm going to change my life for the better. So your soul, your ego, your self-esteem suddenly gets this energy boost. It's like your ego is drinking Red Bull. Not a sponsor. And so you suddenly, get this sudden boost in your life. Then Mars transits over your Moon. Moon represents your mother, represents your happiness, represents how you feel, represents your comfort zone, represents your home, because it's the Karka, meaning significator of the 4th house. Moon is the water retention in your body. So whenever Mars transits over Moon, shows first of all, you will become very stubborn. I have thought and decided that this is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to not budge from it. So in this time period, you'll be quite stubborn in your decisions and what you need to have in that time period. Mars can also, you will notice, will give you cuts, burns, bruises, either to you or your mother. Like maybe you're just cutting something and then bam, the knife cuts your finger. At the same time, the mind is suddenly now full of activities. You suddenly have to exert a lot of thought process in your mind and get them out. And if you don't, then that frustrates you. So in this time period, a person can become very physically active. And a person, if they don't get physically active, they need to do something. They need to write their ideas down. They just cannot sit still. They have to keep moving because the mind is so full of energy, so full of information that it needs to somehow balance it out and compartmentalize it. You will also could be fixing something within the home. You could be doing something within your house. You could be putting up new fixtures, something. Because Mars is also an engineer, construction. Mars wants to build something within the home because we're also not just looking at the moon, but what moon represents, what moon signifies, the Karaka.
Then Mars transits over Mercury. And like I was telling you, during this period, your speech is going to be very aggressive. You're going to say what you want, when you want, how you want. You're going to be very assertive in your ideas. This is the idea I want to implement. As a manager, you will become more aggressive. You will be demanding more. And Mercury, because it loves managing things, shows that whatever you are managing in your life, suddenly will get this aggressive boost. Like meaning that now I have to do this. Now you have to finish this. If people weren't, finishing their construction in your house for like 2 weeks, suddenly when Mars comes over Mercury, you're like, come on, let's go. We got to finish this project. We got to do this. So your speech, your communication is all about, I want to conquer it. I want to win the conversation, and what I want needs to happen. And you can get into arguments with your siblings as well and friends. But you, again, like I said, with good or bad, the dignity of Mars has to be seen. I mean, if your Mercury is in Capricorn, Mars goes over your Mercury in Capricorn, shows that you're going to manage your communication really well, but you're going to be very authoritative with your communication. You're going to be very authoritative with your management skills, but you're not going to like yell at somebody. You're going to be very much structured, like, how do I approach this? You're going to think it through, because now it's in that earth sign, that solid earth sign where Mars is exalted. So these dignities you have to be very, very careful of as to the sign that Mars is placed in or transiting in, and the nakshatra is going over is also very important. Then Mars goes over your Venus. Sudden ignition of passion and love and sexual energy. You suddenly, either if you're not dating, you're like, that's it, I gotta date somebody. I'm gonna go crazy. I need to bring somebody home or I'm gonna go crazy. I know what you're thinking. It's Friday, I haven't had anything for 6 months, and that's what it's doing. It's energizing that. Mars here also may make you drive fast, so be careful. Mars going over Venus, why? Because Venus is vehicles, cars, scooters, whatever that gives you an easy transportation, luxurious transportation, which is a car. You can be very aggressive towards reaching a certain goal of yours, going from A point to point B, and you can be very aggressive because you want to get there fast. Or you'll be quite aggressive towards your approach to the opposite sex, whether man or woman, doesn't matter, because Venus represents simply relationships for all sexes. So you don't want to go too aggressive, and next thing you know, you're in jail. And that will be seen from dignity of Mars. But also because Venus represents our passion, our creative side. You suddenly start getting creative ideas. You suddenly want to do creative things. You want to use your technical skills for some creative project. Then Mars goes over Mars itself. Now here, you're already a soldier, but now you are like this super soldier. You are ready to put your action into play and play into action. You are willing to fight for what you believe in. You're willing to fight for what you stand up for. It's kind of like going over Jupiter, which is the same thing. Like Jupiter represents what you believe in, your ideas, your ideal, your ideology. So here Mars going over Mars and Mars going over Jupiter shows one will fight for their belief, one will fight for their ideology, one will fight for their moral cause. Whether it's good or bad, that's not up to you to decide. Because for me, I feel that my astrological world is accurate and that is it, and I'm going to fight for it. Somebody else, some agnostic or atheist will be like, you're completely full of shit. You don't know anything about the future. Astrology is BS. Prove it to me now. Do this to me now. So you see, he cannot tell me that I'm right or wrong, because for me, I'm right? Because you probably will agree with it. Because you're also wired that way for you to believe in astrology. So this is why nobody's right, nobody's wrong. But on the moral ground, as they say, if you hurt somebody, if you give somebody pain, then yes, it's not right. You will also get into arguments with your gurus, teachers, fathers, if your Jupiter's not in good dignity. Or not Jupiter, Mars. If Mars is not transiting in a good dignity, and Jupiter itself is not in a good dignity, then you will argue, counter-argue Whatever your teacher's telling you in the class, you'll be like, no, you're wrong. I know better. But what this also happened, this gives you a very much a entrepreneurial energy during this time. Like, man, I gotta innovate, man. I gotta do something big. Because remember, Jupiter's expansion. So it's like Mars coming over this expansion. It's energizing this expansion of Jupiter. Then Mars goes over Saturn. Saturn is a slow-moving planet. Saturn takes his time doing things. Saturn is wanting to organize everything, structure everything, make everything look perfect. So what happens when Mars comes over it? Well, suddenly now, whatever Saturn was doing as a process, it speeds up. So now you want to organize your life. You want to discipline your life. You want to structure your things in the office, your professional life, your relationships. So now it's like Saturn is still moving slow, but it's like Saturn is now awakened. And whatever he's doing slow, he starts doing it quickly. He's still moving slow, but whatever the work Saturn was doing starts happening quickly. But this can also show it can trigger wars. It can trigger arguments. Because imagine a slow Saturn, a workaholic Saturn, now suddenly has to deal with somebody, with a baton in the back, say, come on, let's go. Saturn's going to get pissed. Saturn's going to kick Mars' ass right away. And so what happens is they get into a fist fight. And this is where that notion of war zone comes into play. Like, oh, this is just like a mess, the war zone. Because you're trying to organize it, it's not organized, you have very little time, too much energy. You may even get into, if the dignity is not good, you could get into arguments with your uncles, old figures. You can hurt somebody who might be handicapped. Or you may even injure your feet or your leg. And also because Saturn represents machineries, if Mars is not good dignity, you can get hurt by machineries, or machineries will not work. It'll require some engineering and fixing. Then Mars goes over Rahu. Now Rahu is what? Rahu is like this explosive energy. If Jupiter is like slow expansion, Rahu is like, boom, I'm here. So when Mars goes over, it's like Mars is activating that explosion and that energy, like boom. So now what happens, like emotions ignite, passions ignite, enemies ignite. Because remember, Rahu is the most malevolent energy. It is not, Saturn is not the most malefic, it is Rahu. As much as we praise Rahu, Rahu gives you fame and money and all these things. But remember, Rahu is the illusion, the smoke. He makes you think like having money and all of these things are going to make you happy. But it's not. Rahu brings you friends who think you're friends, but they're cunning. They're like, all these celebrities who get into financial trouble. They hire this accountant who say, I'm going to take care of money. I'm going to do this, and then next thing you know, is running it off with their money. So in this time period, you face off your enemies and you're like, what is going on? Because now Mars goes over Rahu and kind of breaks the smoke with the sword. But because it awakens Rahu, Rahu's suddenly like, okay, whatever I need to do, I'm going to do it now. Then Mars goes over Ketu, same thing. Ketu's like represents explosions and terrorism, but it also represents spirituality, oneness, nothingness, looking within, yoga, meditation, occult, sorcery. So what happens on the good side, you become very disciplined regarding your spiritual life. Suddenly you want to wake up in the morning, you want to do your yoga, you want to do your meditation, you want to go to your guru and learn your Jyotish Vidya in the morning and the new meditation in the evening. You suddenly want to you're disciplined about, I'm going to, go to the spiritual place and I'm going to, what do they call, they put their forehead on the thing, matha take as they say, I'm going to do this. This is my spiritual journey. This can happen with Jupiter too, pilgrimage. On the bad side though, Ketu is a headless planet, right? Ketu cannot think, it's headless. So when Mars goes over it, a person may take irrational actions. This is where you might see somebody who may just, goes and shoots up a place. Somebody who goes and, rapes someone, does irrational things, because if Mars and Ketu are not in good dignity, bad decisions will be made. Irrational decisions will be made. Okay? So guys, this was my analysis of Mars transit over other planets. If you're new to my channel, subscribe below. And again, if you want to know where your Mars is placed, all your other planetary information, all my books, consultations, for that, check out the links here. Otherwise, we'll see you on Monday. Bye-bye.